Distortion VR is a 2025 cyberpunk shooter developed by Outsourced Studio and published by Future Mental Games for the MetaQuest and PC VR via Steam. In it, you play a rebel waging a war in a dystopian megacity against an oppressive corporation that's controlling the general public with neural implants. The future is here. Well, sorta. We may not have flying cars yet, but after decades of hype in science fiction and a few false starts, virtual reality has become accessible to everyday gamers. The only real challenge the platform faces is that it's still a relatively niche market, meaning studios aren't quite comfortable investing serious time and resources into it just yet. On the bright side, that same position makes VR an incredibly welcoming space for indie developers to establish themselves with. The first thing that I noticed about this game was its impressive sense of scale. You can actually stop and look up, seeing skyscrapers that cut into the clouds and make you feel like you're genuinely on the streets of a futuristic city. This is significant because, due to hardware constraints, a lot of indie VR games tend to feel boxed in, often avoiding this kind of large-scale environmental design. Now, you're no bullet sponge in this game. There's no health power-ups along the way, and enemies absolutely shoot on sight, meaning you have to get through each level with one life. That really injects tension and stakes into the gameplay. You can't just blindly open fire and push forward. You're always looking for cover behind whatever objects are available, and it actually works very well in VR. Using the environment like that makes everything feel more practical and immersive while you're trying to stay alive. I do also have to credit the developers for making reloading a simple and painless process. It's basically just a quick motion. Push your arm down and you're back in the fight, which keeps everything feeling really streamlined and natural. I've played other VR games with more complex manual reload systems and yeah, it's just not a good time. This isn't just a generic shooter either. There are sections of the level where you have to interact with objects or physically climb fire escapes and radio towers to reach rooftops and push toward your objective. It helps break up the pace in a really natural way, and the game also throws in the occasional side mission to give you a little breather from white-knuckling your firearm the entire time. Being an independent title, the game's elements aren't the most polished, and you'll definitely recognize the occasional reused or familiar asset here and there, but that comes with the territory. And I don't really hold it against them. They've worked within their limitations and still managed to make something genuinely enjoyable in the process. I will say the enemies can be a bit clunky as well. They tend to rush you on sight, and their animations aren't exactly the most polished. That said, they do a job really well in the context of the game. They keep the pressure on and give you something solid to react to in combat. Verdict? A VR indie shooter that delivers a solid experience. Until next time.